Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Lost in Criterion. I'm John Patrick Owatari Dorgan, and with me is a man who could not possibly be as arrogant as the man we're going to talk about today.
Listen, if I wanted to, the Adam Glass.
That is true. You did put a "the" in your name, so maybe I was wrong in my statement. I don't think I am, though. Even with the. I think I'm pretty much right on track.
I'll see what we can get up to today.
But yeah, let's see how arrogant you can be.
I'm cracking my knuckles. We'll see how arrogant we can be. Today we are talking about Testament of Orpheus, Jean Cocteau's final film in what is called his Orphic trilogy. Final film, period, I believe, and a sort of look back on his life as an artist. It is way arrogant.
It was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and we watched Salo.
Starring Cocteau himself, the official title, The Testament of Orpheus, or Don't Ask Me Why.
Right! Okay. Adam, we need to start right there. The freaking opening title of the film says, it pulls a Doctor Strangelove on us and says that it is Testament of Orpheus or Don't Ask Me Why. But for real, Adam, don't ask me why?
Yeah.
We start this film off with something that made me want to turn it off. We're 10 seconds into the film, Adam, and I almost turned it off.
There is no why, Pat.
Well, clearly not, because we can't ask about it.
Yes. Well, when Kajest shows up later in the film, he keeps yelling at Jean Cocteau for asking why. Always asking why. And
then we do know that Orpheus gets yelled at about that.
Yes.
In his own
yes.
film. Which is what I assumed he was actually alluding to when I saw that. But by the time I had finished the whole movie, I realized that we were in another Blood of the Poet situation. And that Don't Ask Me Why was not making a reference back to Orpheus or a reference to the fact that he's going to say Don't Ask Me Why several times throughout the film. It's making a reference to the fact that he has made something that is certifiably insane, hyper arrogant, and God forbid anybody were to criticize him for it.
This is personal mythology, and there is a reason that you do not see more works of personal mythology.
Because nobody wants to see them.
I have often considered writing my own personal mythology, a combination of memoirs of my time working at a hotel combined with my defeat of dragons who secretly run their country living under the hotel. It has no artistic merit.
No, but it sounds awesome.
But I thought it would be fun. But what has kept me from doing that is I think I would be the only one who would enjoy reading about how I defeat dragons that only exist in my head.
You're wrong, Adam. People do read Catcher in the Rye.
It's true. But Catcher in the Rye, I don't think Catcher in the Rye was any sort of
No. I'm saying from the standpoint of things only being in your head.
Yes.
And then being put onto paper, and then people actually enjoying reading them.
It's true. Anyway, this movie is a sort of culmination and obviously a search for explanation, while simultaneously being a, hey, stop looking for explanation.
Denying that there could ever be an explanation.
In that regard, we start off with scenes from Orpheus. We start off with opening credits that are hand-drawn a la Beauty and the Beast.
And also, don't we start off at the beginning of this with some stuff that resembles Blood of the Poet as well?
Yeah.
With the chalk lines? I read that as Blood of the Poet because we watched that more recently.
Yeah, well.
I guess that's Beauty and the Beast.
It is more, to me, reminiscent of Beauty and the Beast. But obviously it's been a long time the chalkboard art gets into Blood of the Poet too. That is widely used in that, and is widely used here later. So
Yes,
it's Cockatoo up to all his old tricks that aren't really tricks.
No, it's Cockatoo all the way down.
Yes, yes, indeed it is.
Just to
Cockatoo upon Cockatoo upon Cockatoo upon Cockatoo,
all the way
circles
down.
within circles.
But, like, okay, so let's get into the opening, the beginning 10 minutes of this film. So, Adam, Cockatoo, who, by the way, looks a lot like Steve Carell when wearing a white wig.
Okay.
I'm just going to say.
I'll go with
That's what I thought. I was like, oh my god, Steve Carell's a time traveler. And then, turns out that this is a time traveler.
Yes.
It is Cockatoo.
Yes.
And he is displaced from
a
time?
man displaced from time who is searching for a scientist who has invented a form of black powder that can propel a bullet faster than the speed of light.
And let's just ignore that completely.
Under the belief that being killed with such a bullet will send him back to his own time.
But doesn't.
It does?
No, they talk later about the complications inherent in what happened.
Yeah.
That imply that it did redisplace him from time in a different way.
Yes.
But it does not send him back to his time.
No, instead it sends him to the Hades
A gypsy
of his
camp.
imagination and a gypsy camp, and then he meets Miranda, and
Now my head hurts.
goodness does my head hurt. This movie,
well, let's go back to him being displaced from time.
This movie does have more of a plot than Blood of the Poet, so we got that going for it.
But that's like...
But so does, I don't know, Pudding.
Things that 5-year-olds
Pudding
write.
has more plot than...
Yeah, Pudding has more of a plot than Blood of the Poet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say Pudding might have almost the same amount of plot as
this film?
Testament of Orpheus,
Okay.
yeah. But we need to focus on this in chunks, I think.
Yeah.
And I really want to spend some time on faster than light bullet travel and funny clothes.
Okay.
I have a question. Are they just on a soundstage?
Yes. No, every interaction he has with the professor is on the same soundstage. And it's
Right.
not disguised as being a soundstage. In fact, when he meets the professor as a baby and causes his mom to drop him...
She's on a
and then
park
just-
bench in a soundstage.
Yeah, and then as she walks away, she walks between the stage lighting. You know, it's not...
Yeah. It's weird.
It's not supposed to sell any sort of reality there. And
So why is it happening? You know what I'm saying, right? Because there's no reason. They could have just jumped into him at a gypsy camp, frankly.
well, no, they want to... The professor establishes this dichotomy of science and poetry, and that poetry is
what the
its
professor
own
established
science
is that what the professor establishes that poetry is the shit, and science ain't got nothing on it.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right.
Is the absurd claim
Yes.
that the scientists
Yes,
we actually get when we get down to brass tacks. What we really find out is that poetry makes science look like some sort of childish doodling. I mean, it's a really absurd.
Well, but at the same time,
it
the scientist justifies poetry in the same way that he justifies science. You know, in saying that when the tribunal is saying something to the extent of, you know, it's just going after the unknown or whatever, the scientist says to condemn that would be to condemn all of science. So what he's really saying is that poetry is a science, and it is the best science, yes, but it is still...
Yeah, and that's where it gets into, like, yes, I understand that he is kind of, in a certain sort of way, we are setting the framework of the argument of the film.
Yeah.
In that, like, we need to say that, like, chasing after the unknown is an admirable, necessary thing for human beings to do.
Yes. Which I wouldn't
That being
argue.
said, the scientist readily concedes that, like, poetry is way more awesome than science.
Yes.
Which I want to point out again, something that we've been through before. Cockatoo was a poet.
Yes.
And man, does he think poetry is just the most awesome fucking thing in the world.
Listen, man. It is. Okay? Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
But, like, can it displace you in time, Adam?
In your mind, yeah.
Because there is an
heart?
Implication in that first... I may even be stronger than implication, because I gotta admit, the bullshit that was coming out of people's mouths was enough that I could not...
Poetry can take you anywhere, man.
Yeah, okay. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow. Like, it's fine and all, but, like, he's physically displaced from time by the science of poetry.
Yes. Okay.
And then shot with a magic bullet.
I don't think it's supposed to be literally true, but at the same time, it's Jean Cocteau, so I'm probably wrong.
I think you are actually wrong on this. I think he is literally saying that, like, if you poetried hard enough, you could knock yourself out of space.
I'm gonna poetry so hard
that I'm gonna literally knock myself out of time.
Yeah.
I believe that is what Cocteau is trying to tell us here, Adam.
Well, you know, I think...
And then also...
in a metaphysical...
If you can poetry yourself out of time, why can't you poetry yourself back into time?
Well, you know, it's just... you've gone too far,
There's a one-way door here, apparently.
Yeah.
But a magic bullet can take care of it.
You're through the looking glass, and you can't come back until someone shoots the looking glass.
With a magic bullet.
A magic bullet that travels so fast.
It exceeds the speed of light.
Here's the thing, though, and I don't want to argue with the science of this scene.
No,
but,
we cannot.
But if the bullet's traveling faster than the speed of light, then shouldn't he have died before it was fired?
We don't need to get into this, Adam. Because the bullet's infinitely dense, Adam.
You're infinitely dense. I think we're all infinitely dense when it comes to Jean Cocteau films.
Yeah, we are. The magic bullet's us, Adam.
We are the magic bullet, Pat.
We've learned something valuable. I think we just stopped the podcast right here. We are all the magic bullet.
And the best part of that interpretation, Pat, is it's the one thing that Jean Cocteau's not trying to say in this film.
Right, we finally found something he's not trying to say. We've done it, Adam. We're the best.
Yes.
So, moving beyond Steve Carell in a wig, he gets shot with the magic bullet.
Yes.
And changes clothes.
He changes clothes, but he says specifically that just a change of costume doesn't mean that it actually worked.
Right.
So
and we find that out because it doesn't work.
He's dressed like he should be, but he's not actually back where he should be.
Which is... I don't even want to get into the fact that, like, somehow the clothes were transported back to the proper time.
Yes.
Which, but by the way, okay, I need to go back. When asked why he's wearing the clothes he's wearing, he basically implies it was a wild party and he doesn't know.
Yes.
So don't ask.
He got stuck.
Like, it is essentially, Cocteau is implying that he, himself...
Yes.
Was at a bitchin' party, poetried his ass off until he displaced himself from time, and now he can't change his clothes. He's stuck in these what in these, I don't know what that era is called. Shoot, I'm blanking. Louis the Sixth,
yes.
Whatever, like French royalty,
yeah,
courtier clothes is what he's stuck in. It's madness, Adam. But there's strong implications of that. He's like, "Oh, don't ask about the clothes. It was a party. Things happened. Don't ask." So then he gets his clothes shot off and replaced by something else. And here's where things start to get visually weird for me. I can't figure out sometimes the way Cocteau moves on screen is confusing. Visually confusing. More than once, I feel like maybe he's being played he's being played backwards.
Maybe.
There's no Adam left. No, like I just remember watching that scene where he like leaves. His movement across the screen is weird. I don't know, maybe
no, it's very tricky.
A limp or something. It's really weird. Right?
I felt like maybe they were dropping, like every 3 frames. And made it more
okay. See, I was trying to figure out what was wrong with what I was seeing to the point where it actually started to make me miss dialogue later on in the film, because sometimes things are weird, like not just what's being said, but like what's actually going on screen. And I'm not talking about his overt metaphors, like him unpainting himself, which is, I assume, well, painting himself by unpainting himself, because apparently Cocteau doesn't know how to draw. And so the only way to make it look like he can draw himself is to have him erase a picture.
There was a point to that. All right, I will say that. I think that it was meant to be otherworldly, but obviously he draws all of the opening credits. It's his hand drawing the hermaphrodite in Blood of the Poet. He is an artist as well.
Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out is why he chooses to do it the way he does, because... Well, so it's always otherworldliness that he's going after with all these reverse motion things.
Yeah.
And they bother me, Adam. Sometimes they look great with the flower thing. That was nice. That worked out quite well. But some of them with the painting thing did not look good.
Yeah.
Did not feel otherworldly. Felt like, to me, that read as, oh, and I forgot that he is an artist as well, because of course he is. But you know what I mean? Like, it read to me as like, oh, I found a way to make it look like I could draw without drawing.
Yeah.
Which was pretty brilliant, actually. In its own special way. But, you know what I mean. So, he goes to the gypsy camp.
Yes.
And...
He follows a man horse to the gypsy camp.
That's true, which is upsetting. Very upsetting, Adam.
But the man horse is not actually a man horse. It's a man in a man horse costume, and that's firmly established.
Thank God. And yet, I'm not so sure.
He goes. I gotta say that Fire, recorded and played in reverse, looks pretty freaking awesome.
Yes, it does.
And a gypsy woman pulls a poster of Orpheus.
A poster reconstitutes itself
out of the fire, unburnt, and in fact unburning as she comes out and pulls it out.
yeah, but I mean, like, it looks bitchin', but that's something that, like, anybody who had an 8mm camera already knew.
Yes, no, true.
You know what I mean, right? Like, my dad owned an 8mm camera in the 60s, okay? And recorded... Like, there's a reel in our basement called 50 Feet of Fire. Okay?
Why have I never seen this, Pat?
That I am damn sure he played in reverse at least once.
You failed as a friend for me not having seen that.
I'm sorry. I saw 50 Feet of Fire, not the actual film, but the canister a long time ago.
Okay.
I do not know that he still has it. Although, it is referenced in our family frequently. By the whole family.
I just fell even more in love with your father.
He's a great man. But you gotta admit, he probably played it in reverse at least once, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Cocteau did not make a miraculous discovery that playing Fire in reverse looks freaking awesome.
True.
So, I mean, yeah, it's cool, but whatever.
Okay.
And then he takes it over to the lady.
The fortune teller lady. Yeah, and she's all like, I
don't remember what she's like, frankly.
Remember.
She's not that important. And then so he takes it and he retrieves Segest from the ocean.
Yes, she tears it up. She tears it up.
Yeah, she tears it up.
He recognizes it, takes it, and throws the remnants into the ocean. Now,
right, is it Segest for his troubles?
Is it Segest in the picture, or is it Orpheus? It's Orpheus, isn't it? No,
I don't know.
It is.
They look the same, Adam.
I know you think they look the same. It is Segest. I remember correctly now, because it's the same. Orpheus isn't actually in this movie. Segest is.
No, they probably had a falling out.
Yeah. Well, no, it was still. They were still lovers.
I wonder why he's not in the film then.
So I don't know. Anyway, so Segest is he throws the poster into the sea, and Segest in reverse falls out of the sea.
My God, there's so much reverse in this film.
Yes,
he appears from the water,
which again also looks kind of neat. I'll admit.
Again, yes, reverse looks cool.
Yes, We know that.
It does. I understand, but like he overuses it.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah. Also, before that happens, the horseman has the mask off and is brushing the mane of the horse.
The horseman is freaky,
and Cocteau says that himself, that the horseman freaks him out.
Which is a really funny thing if you consider the fact that Cocteau is saying this about a thing in the movie that he's making about himself.
Yes.
And unlike the previous film, there should be no debate on what the words of the author or the creator are or are not, right? Because he's in the movie.
Yes.
He's Steve Carell.
Yes.
Which he doesn't actually look like Steve Carell once he takes the wig off. I don't know why, but he does with the wig on. It's weird.
I would take this opportunity to point out that the reason that we're not doing this film in the same way that we did Blood of the Poet is not... It's because that the Criterion essay is offline right now. There's a 500 error when I try to access it on the website. But it's also because anything Jean Cocteau wrote in an essay that could have written in an essay about this film...
he said in the film.
It should have already been said in the film.
Right, because this film is nothing... This film is essentially what the commentary on Blood of the Poet was.
Yes, indeed it was. Indeed it is. Anyway, so Suggest shows up out of the water and hands him a flower, a dead orchid, or hibiscus, I think is actually what it was.
Right, and he must revive it.
And yes, and is told that he must revive it. Also yells at him for asking why too much.
Right. Of course.
Then we cut to a little girl steps up on a pedestal. Well, no, we pan through the whole Judith mosaic thing, painting, tapestry,
which is
and
confusing.
Talks about it.
Did he actually make that?
It matches his style, so maybe.
Yeah, Cocteau's a weird guy.
Yeah, he is. And then Pablo Picasso interviews the little girl as if she is on a game show, asking her questions about Persephone and Judith, and asks who painted the tapestry behind her, and she says it was Cocteau, and he asks what Cocteau is, and she says he's a musician. He asks what Cocteau plays, and she says he plays the buffoon, and isn't that funny? You mean bassoon. I wonder if he actually plays the bassoon. I mean, that's just a whole nother layer.
Why not? Why the hell not? Which, by the way, Pablo Picasso, we need to talk about something.
Yes.
Pablo Picasso was alive when this film was made.
Yes, Pablo
was in this film.
Pablo Picasso lived to be 91. He actually lived for years, if not...
this came out a full decade after
he lived to
Cocteau.
He didn't die till 63. He was 91 when he died.
We have a problem here, Adam.
Yeah?
And this is a problem with the American educational system, or at least the one I attended.
You had no idea that Pablo Picasso
was alive in the 1960s.
The latter half of the 20th century.
Yes, I assumed he was dead long before then.
Well, when we talk about great artists, we always think about them dying young or somehow tragically.
Well, but we also always, like, especially the format they're presented with in American schools in the art class, at least as I understood it, is where they're always presented kind of as a big morass of famous artists.
Well,
right?
we don't talk about artist biographies very much.
Right, and so I assumed that Picasso died.
So they come and they disappear.
Sometime in the early 1900s.
And we only really talk about Picasso during Cubism, so, we talk about Picasso in the early, the 30s, the 20s, whatever.
Right, and so I was assuming that he had died. I mean, this is really just demonstrating my ignorance of art history in general.
Yeah.
I'm sure my sister's freaking out right now. But the fact of the matter is that I'm not well versed in art history, and it was quite dumbfounding for me to find out that Cocteau was a friend of Picasso, and Picasso lived longer than Cocteau.
Yes, significantly longer. He's 9 years older than Cocteau and dies
10 years later.
10 years later. 73.
So way to go, Picasso.
Yeah. So
also great acting debut.
I highly doubt this was Picasso's acting debut, but It's the first thing I've seen him in, so we'll go with it.
Exactly. So it's my acting debut of Picasso. Yes. So yeah, and then Cocteau travels behind the girl, in front of the girl. It doesn't really matter, right?
Yes.
And then that's how we get to the next scene, right?
Yes. Then they go into the.
Which, by the way, what?
I don't know.
The girl, Picasso, did Cocteau just need to make a point that if I'm going to do an autobiographical thing, I might as well mention this kick-ass tapestry I made.
I think the point was to have her call him a buffoon. I think that was the point, to suggest that he plays the buffoon, and from the mouth of babes comes the truth.
Right. So maybe he should have just stopped the movie there.
No, he's got to play.
Continue buffooning.
Yes. The suggestion that he is the buffoon and this is all some sort of absurdist joke is how I view it already. So.
Right. Well, see, here's the thing. I would love to treat this as a comedy.
Yes.
I would love this to be look at the absurdity I made.
Yes.
But it's not, Adam.
Yeah. No, this isn't.
Well, again, we could get into the thing that the artist can be wrong.
Yeah.
So whether he likes it or not, this is a comedy.
I guess. So they go to the little greenhouse area, and
I'm sorry, I forgot he is an artist too.
Yes, and he raises.
That's
into
how it
existence. He raises into existence in another great reverse.
Well, see, part of the problem was this one was a little bit herky-jerky, a little bit more than some of the other ones.
True.
And that caused me some problems, because his other slow motion, his other reverse shots have been, by and large, fairly smooth.
Yes.
He must really attack those pretty meticulously and have them rehearsed over and over and over again and practiced over and over and over again to make them as smooth as they usually are. But this one comes out a little bit herky-jerky, and that kind of threw me off a little bit, I think. Well, I mean, you get used to a certain decision, and then when it fails, it doesn't look right. Because, when we go on later and he reassembles the flower...
Yeah. It looks really...
perfect.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's great. I did not know you could do reverse that well.
Yeah.
And make it look that natural.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super good. Anyway, in this scene, he's trying to paint the flower, and he ends up painting or drawing, erasing, I suppose, into existence.
He erases a chalk drawing.
A chalk drawing of himself, a self-portrait. And...
very much in the style that he used in Blood of the Poet.
Yeah. Suggest. I have it with an O for some reason in my notes right there. Suggest says it's no use. An artist always paints himself. That he can't paint the flower because everything he produces is just really a self-portrait. Which, yes, it's great commentary on the masturbatory nature of modern art, but
brings us okay, but I'm confused again because didn't Cocteau? Isn't he also the man who made Blood of the Poet and then told me that he didn't paint himself?
Yes.
In a really long essay?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah.
Same guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no. So this is suggesting that everything he's ever produced is really about himself.
Which I believe.
Cocteau gets mad at that and destroys the flower. And suggests gets mad at him for that, puts the flower in a pot, puts the skull mask on him,
commands him
to reassemble the flower, and demands that he follows him,
and then to the
to
underworld
meet the
we go.
Miranda,
who is also the princess.
Oh wait, suggests is wearing the skull mask at that point and demands that he
No, he puts it on.
Yeah, but it's after he commands him to follow him to the underworld. He puts the skull mask, the death mask on.
Right, and that's why Cocteau follows him.
Yes,
because that mask compels him somehow. I don't.
Yeah.
That logic is fuzzy at best for me, but somehow the mask commands him to follow him to the underworld.
Yes,
and he does.
Compels him to.
And then we get to a tribunal. We spend a lot of time in the underworld doing a lot of the same sort of underworld things we've done before.
In a kind of neat thing with the rear projection of him walking through the underworld as suggests is in the foreground, sort of just floating in front of the rear projection.
Is this when we get the wind tunnel thing?
Yeah.
Or does that happen after?
He's sort of the air is blowing on him. It's a nice.
It's Blood of the Poet-y.
Yeah.
Because it's very reminiscent of what he did in the hallway in the Blood of the Poet.
Yeah. Where he's walking down where they're sort of crawling around the building.
Walking on a wall, yeah.
And gravity seems to be shifting, which was one of my favorite effects in Blood of the Poet, and it works. You know.
It actually does a better job in this one than he did with
yeah.
Blood of the Poet. It comes off quite naturally.
And they get around the corner and sort of fall toward the floor.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of weird because it's like, did we just throw that in because, hey, check out this effect I figured out, and I might as well use it here too?
Well, I think it's a suggestion of the otherworldly nature of where they are.
Yeah.
I can go with that too.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I just feel like we sometimes with these underworld scenes we get a little bit back into his kind of special effects masturbatory thing. It's like, hey, this other effect is pretty awesome. Let's throw that one in there too.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like that whenever we had this a little bit in Orpheus, it's like I figured out a cool effect that looks very ethereal.
Yes.
I am going to use the shit out of it.
Yes.
I'm gonna milk this bad boy until it is dead. So we get to the tribunal, I guess. I mean, we go through the underworld.
The tribunal is run by the princess and her chauffeur. Hertebis is back.
Oh yeah, I forgot his name for a minute.
Yeah. He's kind of revealed very dramatically with his first line, but she's there, and this is suggested. Well, no, it's outright stated later. I think that their punishment at the end of Orpheus.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely outright stated.
Was to become these tribunals, which suggests because suggest is the character suggests is he outright says that he is from Orpheus, that he is from the film. So these guys also from the film. So is this all a dream? Is it really happening? After the tribunal scene, Cocteau tells Sigis that he feels that what's really happening here is that his creations are trying to figure out why they were created, but at the same time earlier we said that a poet doesn't, or an artist doesn't create anything. He just channels whatever, the art was always there. The artist just reveals it. So if that's true in his worldview, then his characters weren't created, or at least interrogating him won't get them anything, because he didn't actually make them. They just
they were already there. Yeah. Adam, it's not worth it, man. Well, the tribunal, digs into that.
Yeah. And they have a lot of very interesting conversations on the nature of art, I guess. Death asks him to define a film.
If you really dig,
a film is a petrifying fountain of thought, revives lifeless deeds.
That line made me angry.
Permits one to give appearance of reality to what is unreal. She asks what is unreal.
I would like to point out that, at that point I was like, Cocteau, did you just open a introduction to film textbook? It gives it's yes, that's exactly what film does.
Yeah.
Congratulations. But no, and we even bring in the scientists to argue Cocteau's point, basically, that he you have to explore the unknown.
Yes.
It's just part of existence.
Yeah. Which, yes, I agree with.
Yeah, there's no argument here about that. It's just that, this tribunal and here's my problem, among many, was that it's like, oh, congratulations, Cocteau. By using a tribunal, you've set up a perfect situation where you can just, again, expound.
Yeah. No, that's...
About your philosophy.
And him being interrogated.
You found a way where I can have 20 minutes of me talking about my philosophy.
Yeah. This is the film version of all those essays on the Criterion
Exactly.
website.
We don't need it.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. It's the most arrogant thing that has ever been put on film.
Yeah.
To just spend...
This entire movie is that. It's not just...
I know, but this is probably the worst example for me. Is that this is a quantifiable chunk of time that he has dedicated in this film to bullshitting about his philosophies.
Yes.
And it has no other purpose.
Agreed.
You're not presenting me with anything visually interesting. You could have written this down on a piece of paper. In fact, you did. We read it.
Yes.
You did not need to waste 20 minutes of film, a visual medium, with 20 minutes of you talking about your bullshit. And that bothers me. That really, really bothers me that I had to watch an essay.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is upsetting to me. That, like, I sat down to a film. If I wanted to read an essay, I would have sat down and read an essay.
Yes.
Because he didn't...
Well,
he could have done things differently.
The other half of this, and the reason the professor showing up as a witness doesn't necessarily make sense, is because it also seems that his idea of art, he said that can be, and that what can be proven is worthless, and that's the opposite of science. Science sees worth in the unknown, and that's why they want to prove as much as they can, because there's only worth in what is provable. Whereas, and that's the difference between art and science. There is only worth in the provable as far as science is concerned. That's why we must explore the unknown. That's why you press into the unknown. The poet presses into the unknown because he sees no worth in what can be proven, so he wants to explore what cannot be proven.
Right. Or for that matter, you could replace proven with understood.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could easily have the same phrase.
Exactly.
Like, a poet seeks what cannot be understood, or an artist.
Yeah.
A scientist seeks what can be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seeks to understand. Whereas a poet, I'm not sure, especially for Cocteau, is not seeking to understand, whereas rather contextualize, or that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the scientist is just another mouthpiece for Cocteau, basically.
Yeah.
To like, otherwise... It's like, oh crap, there's 25 minutes of me just talking. Let's bring in somebody else to say some of these things.
Well, it's even more annoying that he does that. If he exists as a character, there's no reason to put his words into other people's mouths,
Right, exactly.
But he does that so often in here.
Well, and it's especially sad. I mean, he does it in... Right, he's a person. He can just say all the things he needs to say.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, and again, he calls him the scientist, but the scientist has nothing to add, really.
Yeah. Except to just heap praise upon him.
Yeah. And then so we go through this tribunal, we sit through 20 minutes of Cocteau basically saying that he's awesome.
Yes.
Which is the whole movie again. And then what happens after the tribunal?
They leave and they continue traveling to the goddess.
Oh, right.
They end up in a hallway and he passes himself in a slightly different outfit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
And then, so are we getting close to him getting stabbed in the back?
Well, they get to Yul Brynner, who is the goddess's secretary, and they wait.
Right, and he has to wait.
He waits and waits. And
so do we.
Lucky us. Yeah. And then Yul Brynner finally lets him in, and the goddess is flanked by the two man horses.
Oh, God. So upsetting.
He offers her the flowers, and she refuses. Then he apologizes for smelling bad.
She and the horses are in the most classic Greek pose ever.
Yeah, no,
they are just straight off the side of a vase.
They're super Greek, super Ernie.
Thank you, Adam.
He apologizes for smelling bad. Compares himself to Lazarus, just re-arisen, and
again
talks
super
about
duper arrogant.
The classic painting of Mary and Martha holding their nose as Lazarus is raised from the dead because he's been dead for 3 days. He smells terrible. So yeah. Then he wanders off.
And then she
kills him.
Spear.
She throws a spear through his back. And admittedly, the horseman pulling the spear out of him, really awesome effect too.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a close-up shot. It's wide enough that it's really effective and looks realistic. So he dies, and Hertobes is watching. So are all of the gypsies. So is Picasso. The little girl isn't there, but she's like the only previously viewed character who isn't.
Right.
And then there's a lot of drumming, and the horses come down and carry his body off, and the blood remains, and it turns red, and the flower's there, and it turns red.
And it turns red.
Like the only color. And he's laid out, and everybody comes around and mourns. But hey, he's not really dead.
He's immortal because he's a poet.
Because he's a poet. Poets only pretend to die.
God damn it! Like when that happened, I was like, "You've got to be freaking kidding me!" Because this is a man. He is saying that his poetry is so badass that he'll never die.
Yeah.
Because I understand your assertion that a poet... I understand the idea of like this assertion that anybody who creates something that meaningful continues indefinitely. Which is also a false assertion because information is lost continuously. You are immortal so long as people actually remember your work specifically. But like he again starts like confusing and muddling that sort of philosophical statement with real world reverse photography, and he shoots up because he's actually immortal, and I find that upsetting. I don't know why. I don't like that crossing the streams kind of thing.
Yeah,
it bothers me because he's in previous works he asserts that a poet is immortal, and I can follow that. That assertion is not a purely illogical assertion, okay? But then, like when he does that, it's rather than implying that a poet is immortal, it's implying that Cocteau himself is immortal, and that he is some sort of weird poet god who will reign over poets for all eternity. All hail Cocteau. Which, by the way, actually sounds like a pretty awesome thing when you think about it. And when you say all hail Cocteau. Yeah. It rolls off the tongue.
Yes. Goodness. And we're not even to the end yet. We're so close.
Yeah, we should be.
Yeah. There's so many points where this... Okay, so he raises... he walks out. His eyes are closed, but his eyelids are painted like eyes, just like the goddesses.
It's Greek vase again. He
passes an angel on some sort of like bridge.
That's weird.
And a tone starts to play that gave me an instant headache.
Yes, that is definitely. I typically watch these movies at night while my family is sleeping, because of incidents, and I have to wear headphones.
Yeah.
I had to take my headphones off.
Yeah.
It was intensely painful. Yeah. Especially if it's like right up in your ears.
That was a bad noise. So the angel follows him and then the town ends, and then the angel doesn't follow him anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what the angel means.
And then there's two figures in ancient robes.
Do we have any idea who they're supposed to be?
I thought that...
Because one of them is blind.
Yeah.
With bloody eyes.
Yeah.
Who got his eyes picked out by birds?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Hello, Internet.
I'm sure a lot of people had their eyes picked out by birds.
Yeah, but there's somebody famous.
Yeah.
Let's assume that it's Greek mythology, not Roman mythology.
Yeah, probably. They're all the same, Pat. It doesn't matter.
Well, but the names will be different. And they get changed through...
Yeah.
Well, Coronis. I don't think that's who it is.
I really have no idea.
Coronis is...
I'm not convinced that it matters.
It doesn't. But we know him. Are we not supposed to be? I mean, he's so purposefully overt with his metaphors. Yeah. I assumed that the person he passes by is supposed to be somebody we know.
It's definitely... We
got peck out livers all over the place.
Yeah.
I give up. I don't know. But I feel like we're supposed to know.
So he just passes them anyway. And he says, those who are... Is it supposed to be Oedipus?
It could be. Did you mention Oedipus earlier?
They mention Oedipus almost immediately. Those eager to see the Sphinx, or to see Oedipus, may one day find that they see them and not see them. You know, searching for something great. You can see something great and not even realize it, I think, is what's being said there. I don't know if he's Oedipus in the sequence.
Okay, no, we got it, yeah. So, yeah, Oedipus, it's supposed to be Oedipus.
Yeah, Oedipus, plucks out his own eyes, so... yeah, it would have to be. And he walks down a road, and he hears two motorcyclists, and he's afraid that death's attendants have come to him from the last movie as well.
Right, because why wouldn't they?
But they're not. It's just the police, and then they ask for his papers, and then they're going to ask him for an autograph, but Suggest shows up and cruciforms him up against the rocks. And then they disappear. And the police turn around and he's gone, and they drop the papers in surprise, and they turn into the flower. And then some people speed by, so the police follow him.
Yeah, I feel like the people who speed by are supposed to be significant in some way, but I don't know how.
I mean, is it the... Are they the
Bacchanal? Or
are they the people who showed up to kill Orpheus?
They could be. It's really hard to tell because they go by so quick.
Yeah, I don't...
But I assumed they were.
It also just gets rid of the police. But there's no reason to just get rid of the police. But it gets
in a movie that's pure absurdity, you can just have the police.
It gets rid of the police without the police having to question what just happened.
Yeah, the madness. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. Like in a lot of other movies, even when I don't agree, even when I don't like it, I understand the choices that were made. I understand, and we talked about this with The Night Porter too, compared to Salo. Salo, I don't like. I think it's disgusting. It was vomitous. It was gratuitous in so many ways, but I understood what it was trying to say.
Right.
The Night Porter,
I didn't. Fell apart because we didn't understand.
Yeah. And I'm not... here, right. I guess I understand what it's trying to say solely because it's so projected, but I still don't understand the choices that are made. Like, I can't even justify some of the choices. A lot of the choices.
Yeah, and that's what's amazing, right? Like, you know that this is just supposed to be a trip through this man's mind.
Yeah.
And yet we can't understand why he chose to do the things he did, which means he failed at his primary task, which is to let us understand his mind. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a film that's supposed to say, like, for my final film, I'm going to take you on a tour of the reason why all of my other films seem to exist. But don't ask why. But then I'm going to do a miserable job of it, and you won't understand at the end why I will have accomplished nothing.
Yeah.
Because you will be no better informed about my previous creations than you were before you started. In fact, you might be slightly more confused.
Yeah.
basically what we've learned here, Adam, is that Cocteau is a director I will never recommend to anyone, ever. Unless they like things that don't make sense. If they're into that kind of stuff, you know, I guess.
Listen, I might suggest...
He's your man.
If I ever meet someone who is actively taking acid, I might convince him to watch Blood of the Poet to get him to stop taking acid.
Right, like you need to understand why you're making mistakes in your life. At the same time, like I thought this was gonna go somewhere else. That sentence you were making, I was like, if I ever meet somebody who says they like a Cocteau movie, I'm going to.
No, I
still
maintain that I liked Orpheus.
Okay, but the man is not exactly batting a good average here.
No, he's not.
All right, Orpheus is passable. And you mean passable. I think you like it because it's a normative system here, right? If you're comparing mediocre to crap, mediocre looks awesome. And because of the way the Criterion Collection panned out for us, Orpheus is bracketed by crap. Right?
Yeah.
We got Testament of Orpheus on one side and Blood of the Poet on the other side.
Yeah.
Both of which are incomprehensible nonsense. So, therefore, Orpheus looks sweet. Hey, guys, a plot.
Well, no, I don't think Testament of Orpheus is incomprehensible because I know enough about Jean Cocteau now to understand it.
Is comprehensible. I'm trying to find simplistic words to phrase.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's just There's no...
And I would argue that it is partially incomprehensible because of the contradictions inherent in it.
Well, yeah.
You cannot possibly comprehend the meaning of the film because the film poignantly contradicts itself multiple times.
Yeah. No, you're right.
He contradicts himself over the course of his career in saying things about what an artist can or cannot do vis-a-vis himself and putting himself into things, which directly contradicts all the statements he made about Blood of the Poet. And
yes.
It is. Yes, but I mean, Orpheus is Testament of Orpheus is comprehensible in the sense that like one action leading to the other is much more comprehensible than Blood of the Poet.
Yeah.
Okay? There is some very small modicum of cause and effect.
Yeah.
In Testament of Orpheus. But then again, basic cause and effect is something that most children pick up at the age of around 5. Okay? So we're not, again, that should be something that's present in any work that is comprehensible, right? But I would say that the actual philosophical statements made in Testament of Orpheus are not comprehensible. Because I'm not sure that Cocteau actually knows what he wants to say.
Yeah.
Silence. No. Yeah. No. I mean, no. Right? I mean,
I agree.
We just muddled through all the blatant philosophy of Testament of Orpheus, and we couldn't figure it out. I mean, it was not truly comprehensible to us. So.
Yeah.
LSD, man.
So it ends with him basically saying, well, there it is. I hope you enjoyed it. And we might as well end with that as well.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed watching this.
Yeah,
film.
Guys,
we're very sorry.
I'm sure there are people in the world who would really enjoy this. Obviously, it made it into the Criterion Collection, so there are people who would. So did Armageddon.
That's valid point.
Yeah.
Although a couple of the theories that supported Armageddon, are
we did all right
legitimate. Well, but you know what? I mean, Beauty and the Beast was in here, and like Beauty and the Beast was in here primarily, we assume still for the visual effects, right? So we might be led to believe that like these are in here not because of the content, or because of Cocteau's like pretty much like intense, like precision with some of the visual effects that he does pull off.
And the thing is, again, I'm pretty sure that's the people working with Cocteau. And there is, and I said this during Blood of the Poet, there is merit to being able to put together a top-line group of people, but who produce exactly what you want to produce.
Well, and like I said, when we had we talked about this in Orpheus a little bit, is that from a purely directorial standpoint of like managing what's on the screen, Cocteau's very good at his job. Yeah, that scene with that flower is phenomenal.
But at what point does that become less art and more management? Is there a point where
that's true? Right.
Is there a point where it's not just you're really good?
Yeah, he's really good at making sure he gets exactly what he wants. Yeah, but what he wants is stupid.
Yes. Anyway, I think we're done.
Yeah. No. This. Thank God we never have to go back.
Well, next time around we are talking about another movie that is entirely a dream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ.
I don't know what the next movie is, Adam.
It's Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ.
The Last Temptation of Christ. Okay.
I'll say it again. Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988.
Never seen it.
The highly controversial.
Is that the one with Willem Dafoe in it?
Yes, that is the one with Willem Dafoe in it.
That's all I know about that film.
You're totally going to watch it next week.
We are.
Yes. All right. Thank you once again for listening.
That's definitely going to happen.
Yeah. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye. You've been listening to Lost in Criterion, a production of With Two Brains. The show is hosted by Adam Glass and John Patrick Owatari Dorgan. Jonathan Hape did the music, and Adam Glass also edited it all together. Feel free to contact us by email via lostincriterion@withtwobrains.com or join us on the web at www.lostincriterion.com.